Hi, and welcome to part 1 of 3, where I talk about the impact of sexual abuse on children. According to Maslow, we as humans have the following needs. This is called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and this pyramid includes basic needs and the psychological needs. In the basic needs, we have our biological needs, and this includes food, sleep, water, and sex for procreation. We have our safety needs, and this includes health, finances, and insurance. Social needs include our relationships because we as humans need a feeling of love and belonging. Esteem is a need, and the final need is the need to self-actualize. This is everything we do as humans to live our life to our fullest potential. For children, however, sex is not a need. So any sort of sexual interaction with a child is most definitely abuse. The needs of a child, however, are a sense of security, safety, approval, and validation. And these are provided in a safe and healthy environment at home and in school. When these needs are not met, this leads to depreciation of the self-esteem of a child. The interactions of a son with his mother, female sibling, or aunt proves to him that he can have a non-sexual relationship with the person of the opposite sex. And the same applies for a girl who has interactions with her father, uncle, or male sibling. But when children are abused by perpetrators of the opposite sex, their image or idea of a relationship is tarnished. And henceforth, all the interactions they have with people of the opposite sex get sexualized. And this happens unintentionally. This happens at a subconscious level. So let's try to understand why exactly this happens. Up to the age of 6, the brain of a child shows theta and delta waves. These are very similar to our state when we are sleeping, dreaming, or in a state of hypnosis. It's only from the age of 7 that children are able to critically think and analyze situations and make their own choices. That is when they actually become conscious. So up to the age of 7, children are just like sponges, literally soaking in whatever they are being told without even questioning it. But children are trained to obey. For example, if a child is playfully running about and the parent hits the child gets shocked. And this repeated behavior conditions the child to merely obey the parent without even retaliating or questioning it. In case of teenagers, the kind of sponges teenagers are, they tend to soak up the negative behavior more than the positive behavior and much more often or easily. And this is because they are trying to self-actualize or prove their independence. And that is why we find that positive reinforcement with teenagers takes a lot more effort. Let's break the sexual abuse part into 2 parts. The first one being that when the child is being sexually abused, and the second one being when the child has a revelation that he or she has been sexually abused. When children are being sexually abused, they do not realize that what is happening with them is wrong. In their heads, they feel that they are being good because they are obeying the perpetrator. Perpetrators are extremely tactful. So they can use strategies like taking the child out shopping, giving the child gifts, or teaming up with the child against someone that the child has a conflict with by trash talking about that person. So let's remember that the rule of thumb is that if a minimum of 2 needs are fulfilled and there are no tabs kept on the frequency, it becomes an addiction. So here the perpetrators try to fulfill those needs of the children, and this creates a positive feedback loop for the child. And since the child feels that she or he is obeying the perpetrator and the perpetrator is fulfilling the needs of the child, this creates a cycle and eventually an addiction for the child. During sexual abuse, children do show signs. For example, you may find that the children are behaving more promiscuous, getting inappropriately touchy with friends they're simply supposed to be playing with. And here's a big one. If you find that the child is doing a gesture when you've just casually said a word which coincidentally happens to be the same code word used by the perpetrator, then watch out. For example, if you just say toffees or candies or ice cream and you see that the child kisses you or takes off his or her clothes, then this is a very frank sign that the child is being sexually abused. The last part is when the child has a revelation of what has actually happened. It's not always that children come to us with questions regarding sex because they're curious about the act. It's also because they are curious about what is happening with them and to them. That's why it's very important for us to talk to them tactfully about these things. Now, when the child realizes what has actually happened, the child experiences guilt, shame, low self-esteem, anxiety, and later even depression. So we may see children who are very bubbly suddenly becoming very quiet. Watch out for these signs. If we miss on these signs, it leads to the self-defeating behavior of children, which also leads to debauchery.